Okay, good morning again. Welcome back. So now we enter the core of the conference, and we will start with session 2 on the agenda, which will focus on the global information management and environmental information management development. So we're going to have 4 presentations. We're going to have one high-level presentation on SWIM. We're going to see a little bit more in details the activities that have been carried out by the information management panel, and we're going to have a look at the whole restructuring of the AIM documentation and Annex 15 and Funds AIM, and then we will have also a presentation from belonging to the industry stream. So I'm going to be the first presenting, and we will have an initial presentation on SWIM, and in particularly the ICAO perspective with respect to SWIM. So the presentation is going to basically outline the SWIM vision, how it is described in the ICAO documentation, the problem, so why do we need SWIMs, which are the shortfalls of the existing systems, and now we want to move away from the existing problems and the existing constraints. We're going to see a little bit of how the SWIM concept is explained in the ICAO manual, and also the need for updating the SWIM concept. And finally, I'm going to also present how ICAO has decided to treat SWIM as a multidisciplinary approach. So the vision is briefly described in the documents that you see here in the slide. SWIM is certainly an integral part of the Global Aviation Plan, and is covered also by a number of aviation system global upgrades. So we have, as probably most of you are familiar, we have the One SWIM, which focuses on the ground-to-ground segment and on the creation of an aviation intranet. And then we have the Two SWIM, which is actually the model that will allow the aircraft to be connected with the SWIM network and to become a SWIM node, so to be able to exchange information through the commercial data link capabilities. Then we have the global ATM operational concept, which presents the ICAO vision on how achieving an interoperable global ATM system for all users during all phases of flights that meets specific agreed levels of safety and provides for optimum economic operations and is environmentally sustainable. And in this context, the provision of timely, reliable, quality assured information becomes crucial for safe and efficient operation. And SWIM is certainly an enabler for global interoperability. Then we have a manual on air traffic management system requirements, which explicitly identifies the implementation of SWIM as a requirement for a future ATM system. And then we have the manual on SWIM, so the manual that contains the basic principle, what is SWIM, what's the scope of SWIM, and what we mean with global interoperability framework. So as I mentioned already before, in order to achieve the vision as described in the ICAO documentation, ICAO has decided to establish a SWIM office, a SWIM program office, to make sure that SWIM is developed globally in an expedited and coordinated manner. So as an overview of status of work that has been done already by ICAO with respect to SWIM, we have work done by the ATM RPP, which is that stands for ATM Requirements and Performance Panel. That's the panel that has developed the SWIM operational concept, and the advanced copy of this document is available on the ICAO net. And the manual covers only the ground-to-ground segment. The aircraft-to-ground components still needs to be added to the concept. Then, during the 194th session of the AIT, it was decided to establish an information management panel. The information management panel has the specific task of building the global SWIM, but mostly to assist the Secretariat as a focal point for integrating all its components. And when we say components, we really refer to various SWIM enablers as they're being worked by various ICAO panels, such as the methodological panel, the flight and flow, communication, the IAM, etc. So the IMP becomes really the point of coordination for the activities done also by the other panels. There have been also initial workshops, mini global demonstration taking place in various regions to increase awareness about SWIM. But now the question is, we have to ask ourselves, why do we need SWIM? So if we look at the existing model on how we are exchanging information today, this model really is a constraint for future operational improvements, because systems are designed not to be globally interoperable, not even regionally in certain situations, not even interstate interoperable. And interfaces are often designed to support point-to-point and application-to-application exchanges. And this is really an limitation, because we cannot accommodate new users, new systems, new concepts, or change of formats. The existing infrastructure certainly suffers also of message size limitations and of a very poor scalable approach in exchanging information. And it can be very costly for one stakeholder to access information from another stakeholder. And what happens frequently also is that ATM information is managed in isolation. That means that we have a lot of duplication of information and a lot of inconsistencies. This is probably a well-known problem to most of you. If we look at the current NOTAM system today, there was a quite recent study that basically revealed that 10% of the NOTAMs contains errors on randomly selected messages. And errors can be of different type, can be imprecise information, can be that they contain irrelevant information, or very long and complex text to read. So sometimes it's really difficult for the user to filter out the information that is not applicable and to find the one that actually is very much applicable to the function that needs to be informed. So emerging information requirements demonstrate that there is a need to make the information much more discoverable. And when we say discoverable, it doesn't mean that we have to improve the filtering capability, but we really need to reduce the need for filtering. And also, we want the information to be much more directed to specific recipients. So we want information to be addressable, so discoverable and addressable. That's the direction where we want to go. Besides that, the evolving ATM system is increasingly integrated, as everybody knows. So we have to accommodate different ATM actors and users' needs. If we look at the NOTAM system again, it's not only the pilot using NOTAM, it's the flight dispatcher, it's the air traffic control, the ATC, etc. So we need to accommodate the needs of various ATM actors. There are a multitude of information channels that must be integrated by the user to acquire awareness of flight critical conditions. And increasingly, this is failing to take advantage of modern information management technique and failing to provide the optimum situational awareness. And that's exactly where we want to go. We want to make sure that we can increase situational awareness for the user. So these are the, as I said, the shortfalls of the existing systems, and we want to move away from this situation, and we want to have an environment in which we can provide information which is timely, reliable, and that we want to exchange in an interoperable manner. So when we speak about SWIM, we always speak about interoperability, and interoperability basically means the capability for one system belonging to one organization to be able to exchange information with other systems belonging to other organizations. But it's not only a matter of exchanging and communicating information, it's also a matter of interpreting this information and to make sure that the exchange of information happens in a meaningful manner. So in order to do so, the SWIM concept, Doc 139, the ICAO document, describes some basic principles about the SWIM concept. First of all, we are all aware that in the ATM community, almost every participant is either a user, but also a provider of information. So it's not always appropriate to define well in advance who will need that information, in which format and when. And certainly, what we want to do is to decouple the producers of information from the possible consumers. Because if we do that, the number of consumers and the nature of consumers of information can evolve over time. So that's one of the key, I would say, principle of the SWIM concept. Another key concept, another key principle is the loose system coupling, which means that basically every component of a system has a very, very little knowledge of other components of the same system of other systems. And these allow for better flexibility and better interoperability among systems and for interfaces that are more compatible with each other. Use of open standards, I don't have to explain that open standards are standards publicly available. That means that they have also different rights of use. And use of interoperable services, what we mean with that is that functions are basically performed through services, through interoperable services that are used by systems in a very, very flexible way. So that's the definition of SWIM, which SWIM consists of standards, infrastructure, and governance, enabling the management of ATM-related information and exchange between qualified parties via interoperable services. So that's how we define SWIM in the ICAO document. And if we want to look at the specific scope of SWIM, the scope is basically defined by the orange area that you see here in the slide, which includes the information exchange and also all the infrastructure to support this exchange of information according to specific governance rules that of course are defined by the stakeholders. The SWIM-enabled application will provide and consume information within SWIM, but really the justification of SWIM lies in the clients, in the customers, because they are the main users of SWIM. And what SWIM does is really to convey the various ATM services requirements through the SWIM-enabled application that will define the quality and the scope of information. If we look at the benefits, we can have a look actually at the benefits for each perspective, for the airspace user perspective, service provider, and regulator perspective. So if we look at the airspace user, certainly within a SWIM environment, you will gain greater equity in accessing airspace and also greater access to information. So these will support decision making and also situations like conflict management. So you will be able to provide greater business within a safety framework. If we look at the service provider perspective, of course, working in an information-rich environment, which includes real-time data and trend analysis and predictive data, fused with a range of automated decision-making tools, will support to deliver better services and optimize services. From a regulator perspective, within SWIM, we will have safety systems that are more robust and open, and this will allow for better measuring safety and also to compare safety on a global basis. This is probably a slide that you all well know. It's the SWIM Global Interoperability Framework as defined by the ICAO manual, and it's related only to the ground-to-ground segment, and it's basically described the main functions within SWIM and how the information is exchanged. It's a 5 layered framework, which include SWIM-enabled applications that are defined for different types of users, so controllers, NSPs, net providers, etc. Then we have information exchange services, which are defined for each specific domain, so aeronautical information management, flight and flow, meteorological, and also cross-domain exchanges. And these exchanges happen, again, through specific governance rules. Then we have the information exchange models, which basically define the syntax, the content of the information. And the SWIM infrastructure, which is basically the whole core services to support SWIM, such as interface management or request, reply, publish, subscribe, messaging, and these sort of things. Network connectivity will refer to the telecommunication networks, and the resulting infrastructure will be basically a collection of all the various stakeholders' infrastructure, or as we call it, a network of networks. So what you've seen now, it's basically what we already have in our ICAO manual, and I guess most of you are already familiar with most of it. What has been done recently by the Information Management Panel, the Information Management Panel has identified some foundational components that needs for a deeper coverage. Actually, the next presentation will be much more detailed in this respect. So mine is a very, very, very high-level overview. So one of the first things, always with respect to the ground-to-ground segment, that they think it should be much more extended in the manual is the reference interoperability architecture. So there will probably be the need within the manual to have a dedicated section to the ATM information reference model, which is a reference model for all the ATM information that is designed to ensure semantic interoperability. And when we say semantic interoperability, we mean the capability really to exchange the information in a meaningful manner, so that the information keeps its meaning during the transitions and during the exchanges. The panel has been working also in defining a swim control vocabulary, which I think is very, very important because it helps to better understand swim. So they are defining all terms and definitions that are specifically for swim. And the swim control vocabulary do not contain operational elements such as waypoints or runway or these kind of definitions. Which are actually described by the AIRM. So the main thing to say here is that the IRM and the swim control vocabulary will be mutually exclusive. So the swim control vocabulary will more focus on definitions such as semantic interoperability or service consumers and these kind of things. The manual will contain also some principles on how metadata should be provided. We know that the usefulness of information really lies on the context, contextual information provided together with the information itself, quality associated with the information, and the trust that we have in the information. So the manual will actually expand a little bit more on how the metadata should be provided. So they have to be contextual, again. They have to provide information about the quality practices that have been used for generating that information, so the source of information, the actions that have been performed, when these actions have been performed. They have to be layered, so this means that the metadata have to be associated with a full data set or a single feature or a single product. There will be also a better definition of design principle on how swim information services need to be provided. And it will be better explained the difference between swim registries and swim repository, because at the moment, particularly for the repository, this is only treated as a footnote in the documentation. So it's really necessary to better extend this section and to really explain the difference between a registry, which is the tool through which really the user will be able to discover information and to get in contact with the provider of information, while the repository will be basically a repository that contains information about services, how they are used, how they interact with each other, etc. The air-to-ground segment is not there yet and will be introduced on the second stage. One important thing that I would like to outline is how in ICAO we are now looking at swim. So as I said already several times today, we are creating a ICAO swim program office, which will be is established to coordinate all the efforts. So what we want to do is to treat swim as a program through a multidisciplinary approach. So basically we want to look at all the enablers that need to be developed. So we are looking at all the various panels, the net panel, the flight and flow, and comm panel, and surveillance panel, etc. And we want all these enablers to be developed with a greater swim goal in mind. So in practical terms, what we're doing is we're really looking into the deliverables of various panels, and deliverables that of course are defined by job cards, by the Global Air Navigation Plan, by the ASPO. We're looking at these deliverables, and first of all we're doing a gap analysis to see if we miss something or if we are covering everything, and then we try to align all these deliverables to certain deadlines and creating milestones. So that's more or less a description of how we want to treat swim as a multidisciplinary approach. The swim program office in ICAO will be dedicated to develop the long-term vision of swim, but also the intermediate and short-term goals. And we want to establish complete usage for different scenarios. But mostly what we want to do is really to ensure harmonized implementation. And we want to mitigate current proliferation, and also on top of that we would like to establish regional office focal points for coordinated rollout. This is a quick overview of the SWIM program near-term task list. Going actually backward in time, we're going to have in 2018 an air navigation conference where we will basically launch the first harmonization and interoperability SWIM framework. And before that, we are going to have an information management symposium that basically will be a test for SWIM and will be a preparation for the conference. In between the symposium and the conference, we're going to have a SWIM fine-tuning phase in which we will take the inputs coming from the symposium to be prepared for the conference. What we are doing in the meantime, we are working at different levels actually through the support of the information management panel. So we're looking at governance, architecture, services, and awareness. And what we are trying to do at the moment, and again we will see it also in the next presentation, we would like to define a minimum set of requirements for each of these elements. So that's actually where the panel is at now, what they're working on. In the meantime, what we are doing at the secretariat level, as I said, we're doing gap analysis, we are trying to define all the deliverables and to create really a structured work program for SWIM. So, to conclude my presentation, as I said, the most important message that I would like to convey is that through the support of the IMP, we really would like to define a core set of requirements for SWIM, so identify minimum SWIM infrastructure requirement, minimum governance rules, and minimum core set of services that will be provided through SWIM at the global level. And this is to make sure that we will have an harmonized implementation of SWIM, and as we say often in ICAO, to make sure that no country is left behind. And that concludes my presentation.